Hey, well, good morning from Dallas, Texas. Wanted to say thanks for all the great comments in the other video that I left yesterday. Your comments were great, and I wanted to kind of share some more experience that I've kind of learned and actually really experienced over the last couple of years in terms of narcissistic behavior and patterns to spot, how that applies to you, what it all means from my standpoint, from what I understood. And I'm telling you this because I did about 80% of what I was supposed to do. The other 20% I still backslid. I still, maybe contacted more than I should have. And so, but I learned, right? I learned to get a lot closer to what is considered healthy behavior. If you don't know what healthy behavior is, I suggest you read books. You read books on the topic, and different people have different situations. If you were in a marriage with somebody and you have kids, I would say the book Divorce Poison would be probably on your top reading list. Psychopath Free would be a book I think everybody should read. And there's quite a few other ones, and I'm not going to get onto all of them now, but we can do that another day. So I wanted to talk today about manipulation and how to tell if you're being manipulated. And there's manipulation and there's influence, because we all influence people around us every day because we have needs and we need to communicate those needs, and so it's okay. I mean, it's okay to influence. It's okay to kind of state what you want and kind of get it out there. And if people want to do that thing for you, or give that thing to you, or make that date with you, or whatever, that's fine. You can influence. That's great. And others will influence you too, right? It's just when you get into manipulation, that's where things get jacked up, right? So, and people have different degrees of influence. Some people go from influence and they cross the line to manipulation. So one of the first signs that you can tell if you're being manipulated is confusion. When things don't make sense, like they say one thing and do another, their actions don't match up with what they're telling you. That's the biggest, number one thing. If you're confused around somebody, okay, so I mean, we all have miscommunication, right? We see somebody do something, we interpret it in our head through our filters, and that happens quite a bit. I mean, it happens every day. But what's different about like a narcissistic person is that there's a pattern. They consistently do it, where what you do is you listen to your gut. And if you feel there's confusion, and a lot of us, we haven't developed the, I don't want to call it tenacity, but we haven't developed the healthy sense of self to where we can state, we try to end that confusion. And some of us have, and then the narcissist just wears it down because that's who they are. But when you feel confused about somebody, you say, hey, I'm a little bit confused about what you said. Can you clarify that? And so in a normal, healthy relationship, somebody will use empathy. Think of what you just stated to them from your standpoint. They'll put themselves in your shoes to try to understand your confusion. And they'll say, oh, I see. Well, what I meant was this and that. And then the confusion's cleared up. Normal, healthy miscommunication happens all the time, but it's cleared up. When somebody is manipulating you, the confusion is on purpose. It's to keep you off balance. It's to keep you coming back to them for more information on they're getting supply off of you, and that's another thing about supply, fuel, whatever you want to call it, narcissistic supply. But so they're manipulating you, but it doesn't come across like manipulation if they can get away with it. So in the same situation, when you ask for clarification, that's if you even ask. A lot of us just give up asking. And a lot of us take people's words at face value, which which you'll learn later. You don't need to do that, and there's ways to do that. But they manipulate. So in the same situation, you ask for clarification. And what happens is you ask for clarification, and they pretend like well, what I meant was this, and then you get another piece of confusion, another misdirection, and you still are still scratching your head until finally you ask again, or you just give up. But finally, or you ask again, and you get another one until finally you just give up and you say, "Oh, I guess I meant what they originally said." So the narcissists, they're used to wearing you down. And again, it's not that they're, I don't want to say they're evil or they're bad. That's just how they are. That's just how they were raised as kids. They weren't like suddenly these good people and then they got around you, or they went to narc school and studied how to be really crappy people and manipulate and all that. They just are surviving. They're terrified souls, and this is how they get along in the world. You at least learned how to empathize, which is a higher level emotional behavior. Empathy, not everybody gets empathy. When the narcissist grows up, they get stunted, and they never develop full empathy. Some never have it at all. Some are psychopaths. They no empathy at all. So anyways, that confusion. So how do you recognize that? And this took me, guys, this took me a while. It took me a while to get this. They always talked about listening to your gut. Well, what's happened for a lot of you, like me, is you're conditioned to this pattern so much, maybe from early childhood, and then the narcissist reinforces this behavior pattern where you override your gut reaction. You override your warning bells, your red label, your red flags. You just override it. So what happens is when you read books, you go no contact and you read books, you get out of that cycle where you react. And it's like, you know how the clouds open up? Like it's a rainy day, and then it gets brighter outside, it gets brighter and brighter, and then the clouds separate for just a second and you start to see the sun come through. It's that kind of moment that I had, that when I started to realize that my intuition was screaming at me like, dude, you're being manipulated. That doesn't make sense, So when I started getting, speaking of sunlight, so when I started getting that, when I started being awareness, when I started becoming aware of that thing that had been buried, I was used to overriding. Now I started to listen to it. And then you can journal. I journaled. I wrote down thoughts that I had. I looked for patterns that would happen. I meditated. Guys, meditation is key. Just sitting still and listening to yourself. Don't listen to anything. Focus on the faucet dripping in the other room. Just get your mind out of yourself. Now I use yoga. Yoga's awesome. Get the breathing going. All that kind of stuff. So confusion. So that's probably, that's the easiest way to tell if you're being manipulated. Now, with manipulation, what's the difference between manipulation and influence? Well, with manipulation, there's the stated agenda, which is the one they present, which would be called the false self. And then there's the hidden agenda. Because with the narcissist, there's always a hidden agenda. You're never going to get close to them. You are never, ever going to get close to them. Let me repeat that. You're never, ever going to get close to them. Because they are terrified of anybody getting intimate with them, knowing who they really are. They're afraid of who they really are. That's why they need other people around them. That's why they create that false self. That's why they have other people, a posse around them, telling them how great they are. They put on a big show for everybody to make themselves look good, because they don't have that inner self. They don't have a true self. They do, but it's buried. So they just don't bring it out. It's buried, and there's a lot of other people that talk a lot better on that topic than I do. But so what is a help? Okay, so we talked about confusion, being around somebody that's manipulating. So what does non-manipulation look like? Well, non-manipulation is somebody that you're talking with, their words match their actions. You know, one of the things that people talk about is the words, "I'm sorry." Well, if somebody tells you they're sorry, that's great. But if they don't change their behavior, or they don't acknowledge what they did was wrong, or they don't show any remorse for what they did, and narcissists are pretty good at showing remorse, so that could be kind of, again, another manipulation. If they don't do any of that, then their words are hollow, they're empty. So what a narcissist will do is a lot of them won't say that they're sorry, they'll blame it on you. And the ones that are really good, that really manipulate well, they'll say, "I'm sorry," they'll act remorseful, but usually there's a tell. There's like, when they say they're remorseful, they get into this acting thing where they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," you know. They'll look up, like, see if you're responding, see if you're buying it, you bought it, okay, good, now I can go back to normal. Like there's just little tells like that. It's just something off. And you won't see that, guys, until you see them for who they are. So many of us, like let me give some of you guys a visual. So in my mind, the amount of power my narcissist had over me, how influential she was, how important she was a few years ago, was like this big balloon, this big hot air balloon, right? Which is really big. If you've ever been, like, I was at a Cowboy Stadium last year, and they had this thing where they blew up air balloons, the hot air balloons, you know, with the gondolas and everything inside the stadium. They could only fit like 14 of them on the field. Those things are huge. One of those balloons was how big the narcissist influenced me, and when they would fire these balloons off, they use like propane, and they would go, and it would thunder through the whole stadium. And the heat, when you got too close to it, you could feel the heat, and it was just like, you know, it was like you knew that balloon was there, okay? And you didn't want to get too close to it because you felt like you were going to get scorched. Even the guys that were doing the things, they were firing off the propane, they would almost duck like away from the flame, because even though the flame's above them, they would almost duck away from it because it was so hot, and they'd be sweating and everything. So what happens is, over the course of becoming healthier, is that person, for me, I think this happened for other people too, is that person will start to lose their size in your head. So without walking you through a complete analogy of how hot air balloons work and everything, I'll just tell you this. Now you ever see those kids in the mall, and they got now they got balloons like little dogs, or, you know, like a Nemo balloon. Now I've got a Nemo balloon that I see over here. I don't see the hot flames anymore. It's just this little balloon. It's Nemo, and then you just tap it, you know, and it, you know, it's just kind of, that's how the narcissist now is perceived in my head. And I don't even like saying the narcissist, because it almost gives her power. It almost makes the balloon maybe a little bit bigger, and I don't even talk about her so much anymore, because I know that I can't really change her, so I just focus on what I can do. And it's me changing my perception. It's me seeing the big hot air balloon going down to the Nemo balloon. So look at some of your comments here. Yeah, so fake empathy is the big thing. That's how you're being manipulated. And see, a lot of us don't. We've been conditioned from when we were children to listen to what your father says, listen to what your mother says, and we would focus on the words. And we wanted to be good kids, because in our mind, we're good, I'm good, I'm a good person, I'm an honest person. And so we just have been conditioned to trained to just listen to people's words. So, but you get better at it after a while. And now, if somebody isn't matched, if their shoes don't match their belt, if they're I'm really big on that, by the way. I once wore a tan belt with black shoes, and I got razzed on by it. But if their actions don't match their words, you know, give them a couple of chances, I think. But you'll begin to see a pattern. It's really easy. It's really easy. Narcissists are all about power and control. Bottom line. Now, one of the questions is, and I was going to do another video on this. I love doing videos with you guys, by the way. I watch tons of videos. So all the information I'm giving you is what I went through, how I see things. And again, I've got a perception too. I got thousands of hours behind me in terms of reading and watching videos, taking notes, journaling, meditation, yoga. I mean, I've missed a recovery for the last 2.5 years. So I like sharing that because people shared stuff with me and it really helped me out. So I want to leave you with one last thought. And the one is, do narcissists love? And, you know, it all depends on how you define love. But I will tell you, this might surprise some of you. And this is an example I gave over and over again in groups. You may have heard me say this before. So a narcissist loves. They do have love. But they have what's called utilitarian love. In other words, if you're useful to me, I love you. So how do you think about that? What kind of love is that to you? And I want you guys to understand this so that the next time they say they love you, that you don't fall back into it. Hopefully there is no next time. You've got no contact, right? But for some of you, you may want to look back on when they said, I love you 6 months ago, because you may still be like, oh, I wish they would call me. I wish they'd hoover me. Oh my God. I wish they'd hoover me. I wish they'd come back, and because they said they love me. So I want you to reframe that. I want you to think about it differently. Okay, so I love my iPhone 5, okay? And as you guys know, there's already iPhone 7s are out now. I love my iPhone 5. I love the size of it, the shape of it. Everything worked great on it. However, one day the battery stopped working. It stopped going. Like it would go from 40% down to 0. Like it shut off. It's like, what the heck's going on with this? So I was going to take it in and get it fixed or something, but I'm like, I looked online and they're like, oh, it's $100. It's like, I said, you know what? I think it's about time for me to get an iPhone 6. Remember, I love my iPhone 5. I love it at the time. I love it. It's given me great connection. You know, I've got all my apps on it, texting, keeps me in touch with the world. Then the iPhone 6 comes out. And you know what I just did? I discarded the iPhone 5, and now I love my iPhone 6, which is what this little thing I'm tapping right now, I'm talking to you on, is an iPhone 6. I love it, love it, love it. But you see how fast I dropped, my love went away for the iPhone 5? It's because it no longer served me. It no longer did things for me that I wanted it to do, that I wanted it to do. Do you understand that? What it did for me. In a relationship, in a healthy relationship, true love is giving. It's a back and forth. It's not utilitarian. It's a constant. Love is, I mean, you've heard the love is kind, love is gentle. Love is all that. Love is two-way communication. I mean, you can give love away, but love is giving. Ultimately, it's giving. At least that's how I see it. So I just want to leave you that thought. If you're still thinking that they love you, if you're not doing the things that they want, if you're not being manipulated, if you're not accepting the manipulation they're giving you, if you're not bending over backwards for them, if you're not putting them first, they're not going to love you anymore. Oh my God. You don't want that kind of love. You don't want that kind of love. Trust me, you don't want it. You're better off loving yourself. The number one person in your life is you. Love yourself. Do that first. And I promise you'll heal from this. You'll get better. You'll be 2.0, you'll be so much better. Swear to God. Gonna take some time though. Sorry. That's how it works. We all got the same kind of ticket. All right, guys. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. And don't be manipulated. All right. Bye.